Really gotta WD-40 this chair. Hey guys, today I want to talk to my fellow Blackmagic owners and specifically how to get the most out of our media cards while filming various different things. Now the amazing thing about the Blackmagic, especially Pocket series and the Ursa Mini G2, is that there are so many different ways to record to your camera. You have a SD card, you have a CFast 2.0 slot, and then of course you have the USB Type-C, which myself and I feel like the majority of especially Pocket users definitely utilize. Now once you decide what sort of media, now you have to decide what codec to shoot in and what settings of that codec do you want to utilize. You of course have the option between B-RAW and ProRes, but for the sake of this video we're only going to be talking about B-RAW because why are you shooting in anything else? Once you've obviously chosen B-RAW, now you have two different options from there. You have constant quality and constant bitrate. Now what inspired this video is actually when I did the recent update, whatever version that was, 6.14 or whatever, it actually reset my camera back to constant bitrate even though I was shooting constant quality. And one of my clients, which I film multiple times a week, is basically this like fashion hair brand where we do like tutorials and product demos, and sometimes the raw footage can be like 30 minutes to an hour. And I was watching my Pocket 6K basically eat through the media and I'm like, what is going on? And I realized that it had reset back to constant bitrate, which I then changed to constant quality. Running with two cameras, the same clip was about an hour, and on constant bitrate, it took 350 gigs of storage on my T5 card. In comparison to the camera that was on constant quality, it took about 67 gigs. So what are the differences between constant quality and constant bitrate? To simplify things, everyone knows of a shutter. When you take a picture, you see the mirror open and close, you now have a frame. 24 of those is what gives a traditional cinema frame rate. But obviously on the latest digital cameras and mirrorless cameras and everything in between, you don't have that mechanical physical shutter anymore. So you basically have a sensor that's constantly reading and writing data that comes through to the lens, hits the sensor, and writes to the card. So then every camera has a maximum bitrate in which it can read and write data. And the higher, the much more data you have, the much better image quality you're going to have, better post-production, color grading, VFX, that sort of thing. Bitrate is one of those important things that you don't hear about, but it's one of the biggest differences as to why you can have like a 4K GoPro, but it looks nothing like a 4K RE file. So sure, why would you not want the maximum bitrate going at all times? Well, again, using the example of the scenario like my one client where I'm constantly filming, if you look at these videos, there is usually a person sitting in the middle who's talking, moving around slightly, but the background actually stays the same. It's pretty much a solid color, very light gradient. It's very simple and it doesn't move. The camera's on a tripod. Now on constant bitrate, the sensor is essentially continuously writing new data to the entire image. On constant quality, it's essentially adapting the bitrate in order to keep the highest quality, but also not taking up as much data. So therefore, all of that space that doesn't move from frame to frame, it uses whatever magical technology in the back end to be like, hey, we don't need to write this new data. It's the same as the last frame. And it essentially does that over and over until there's a frame where something interacts with that area. So if everything on this side of the frame has not moved, this is not writing new pieces of information right now until I start doing this. Now essentially under the bitrate or constant quality, you have one more decision to make, where if you go under constant quality like I shoot in, you have Q5 and Q0. And this is essentially choosing the maximum bitrate. So essentially how much quality, and again, it's going to decide how much storage space it actually starts to take up. And I can tell you that I shoot Q5 for everything. The only time that I would go Q0 is if I'm shooting something that requires heavy VFX work in post-production where every single pixel and bit can be utilized. But for all my stuff, whether it's fast moving or interview style stuff or product stuff, I'm on Q5 because it gives me a ton of storage space, but incredible amounts of quality to where you wouldn't notice the difference on something like this. If I shot at Q5 or Q0, you would never know the difference. And on constant bitrate, you essentially have the choice of 5:1, 8:1, and 12:1. 12:1 is going to be the highest form of compression, so the lowest quality, the lowest amount of storage space, and 5:1 is going to be the highest quality. I'm sorry, I think there's a 3:1, but you get the point. So in doing a little experiment here, I'm going to record a 10-second clip where I leave the frame, and so the background is totally static, nothing moving, and record that on constant quality Q5 and see how much that clip takes up space. So how big is that file? And I'm going to do the same thing where I'm in the frame and I'm going to move all sorts of craziness, and so that it's constantly having to adapt and rewrite the data in all sorts of places. And then I'm going to do one more where I go to constant bitrate and I'll test out all of the different file sizes for the 3:1, 5:1, 8:1, and 12:1. And before I even do it, again, the constant quality Q5 should take up a lot less amount than a constant bitrate 3:1 or 5:1. I'll be curious to see if it's on par with like the 8:1 or the 12:1 compression. And so yeah, to wrap this up, would I ever shoot constant bitrate? I guess if I'm shooting like a action scene or some like sports promo or something where I know it's incredible action, where I pretty much know every second is going to be refreshing the readout and all that stuff, then maybe I throw it in constant bitrate just to have the maximum bitrate at every second of every time and not really have to worry about, am I truly getting the best quality? But from every professional that I've talked to that also uses Blackmagic cameras, we all pretty much agree that constant quality Q5 is the best codec and settings to get the most out of your storage while maintaining fantastic quality. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Do you own a Blackmagic camera? What are settings that you always shoot on? Have you noticed a difference with testing them out? I would love to start a conversation down below. And don't forget to get subscribed. And one more little self-plug here. If you haven't heard the news, I started a new channel called The Edit Place, and I started it just about 2 weeks ago or so, and I already have like a bunch of videos on it, like 10 videos on there. So definitely go check that out. That'll be linked in the description below. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.